Welcome to Issues with Cartoons, the show about comics and cartoons. My name is Kyle.
And I'm Carl Lucas.
And we today, Carl Lucas, are going to be concluding our coverage of the Kang trilogy that the Earth's Mightiest Heroes cartoon has been giving us these last couple weeks. And this is a fun one. This is literally titled The Kang Dynasty, named after a story arc by Kurt Busiek, which we started covering last episode. And this episode was written by Brian Reed and directed by Sebastian Montez. Brian Reed, I believe this is the same Brian Reed who actually wrote a Ms. Marvel run in like the mid-2000s at Marvel, and has done various other comics work. So he's got some comics credits under his belt.
Nice little crossover from comics to cartoons. That's what I like to see.
Yeah. I guess where I want to start before we kind of get into the coverage, just general impressions of the Kang saga that we've been covering these last 3 episodes. Now that we're finished,
overall thoughts on
and maybe we'll do a little deeper analysis after we talk about it. But just initial thoughts about how this went for you.
I think it was daring to combine Ultron with Kang because they're both such big villains in the Marvel Universe. And I think I've said this before. And I think Kang is set up really well. And I like the character arc with Ravonna being brought in and how that's resolved and set up. And that's set up in some of the earliest episodes of the show.
All the way back to when we first see Kang in episode 4.
So it's cool to finally get that payoff. I think it's a very successful take on Kang.
I agree.
And I think it ties the mythos together well, and his swordship, Damocles. Yeah.
And we'll talk more. We'll go more in depth about how we kind of feel about this take compared to maybe some other takes. But I'm just interested in knowing this is your first time watching the show, and knowing this is the first time you've seen this version of Kang. I'm just interested kind of in your impression. So that's great. When the episode opened and the Quinjet's there and the doors come up and the Avengers walk out in their red and white costumes, kind of in a slow-mo, like walking montage, what did that remind you of?
It was a lot like Avengers Endgame.
It was so much like Avengers Endgame, and it was like I don't know,
incredibly close,
almost a decade before. Incredibly close. Like the designs were almost the same.
Do you think that's a coincidence?
Oh, I mean, it had to be, right? But then again, like there wasn't a whole lot of major Avengers media before this.
Yeah,
and it's so close. Like that's almost exact. Down to the costume designs, it's almost exact. It was striking to me how similar they were.
I had that same thought when I was watching it. It is very similar. And that show, I believe, was in I'm maybe reaching here, but that was in the trailer. I mean, when they were promoting it and stuff. But anyway.
Once again, where are my Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes action figures? Those would have been great variants. Damocles fires on the Avengers Mansion, and then we get the intro, and we have the same lineup we've been having. We'll just say here for posterity: Hawkeye, Hulk, Cap, Iron Man, Thor, Giant Man, Wasp, Black Panther. It's been kind of our lineup for the last dozen or so episodes. We've had a pretty consistent roster for most of the season.
Yeah, they haven't changed it up at all.
I like how when we come back, Thor's just like, oh no, I'm not gonna put up with this, and he flies out and he goes and faces the blast.
He leaves the team. He's just like, bye guys, later.
Yeah, and kind of single-handedly like cripples Damocles' base with his sending the beam back at him.
I like that because Thor should be that powerful.
1000%.
He's a god. Like, Thor should be able to take out any kind of man-made or alien-made spacecraft. Thor should be able to take that out.
Agreed. And it makes sense then that he's that powerful that they immediately take him off the table after that because he becomes comatose for the remainder of the episode until the last minute.
So you imagine a timeline where Thor just lays the smackdown on Kang.
Oh, yeah. Flies straight through Damocles' base and just hurls everyone into the vacuum of the dark void of space.
Just hammers in, Ravonna goes floating off.
Oh, no, Ravonna completely disappears because Thor just destroys everying.
Kang screams like an angry Mr. Freeze into the void.
Yeah. And in space, no one can hear you scream. The Quinjet then is engaged by Scarabs because Kang's starting to get a little nervous, and this all kind of reminds me of sort of like a Star Wars dogfight where like they're all just trying to like evade and outmaneuver these Scarabs.
I will say this is where Kang differs from the comic book version because like I think comic book Kang has this royal air to him.
Yes,
and this show strictly paints Kang as a sci-fi villain.
Yeah.
He's
more like a general.
And it's a cool take, and you only have 20 minutes to tell this story.
Yeah.
So having Kang as this sci-fi, it works.
I love it.
It works.
I love it.
Yeah.
And, we've talked a lot about the design of him and the characters and stuff. The designs on this show with Kang really work for me. They're just very well done.
His helmet does look more like his first appearance.
It does.
I do want to say
more
that.
Squared.
Yeah.
I like it though.
I do want to say that.
Some of those upward shot angles are a little awkward, but for the most part, I'd say it plays really well in animation.
Yeah.
And so they're gonna try to outmaneuver these Scarabs. Iron Man enlists Wasp in this great moment. Well, the first great moment was when Iron Man says, "Let's go," and Wasp says, "You're talking to the Hulk, right?" That was a great moment. But then they get outside into space, and Jan just has to kind of like take a moment, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, I'm in space." And
that was a cool moment because
really like that.
It showed Wasp's humanity and how unjaded by all this stuff she was, and she takes a moment to stare at the Earth, and then Iron Man's just kind of like, Tony's like, snap out of it. We got a job to do. We're on a mission and stuff. But she is taken back.
Yeah, and again, like going back to discussions we've had, where like Jan is definitely like the heart of this team. She's like one of the most relatable characters. She's kind of the most fun characters.
I'm starting to see through reading all this Avengers canon that we've been covering for the show that Jan is the heart of the Avengers. I mean, she names the team. She has the big arc in Siege, which we covered in a previous episode. And she's the heart and soul of this band.
Yeah, and it's so funny because when I first came to the Avengers in the late 90s, at the start of the Busiek run with George Perez, Wasp was there, but kind of in and out. But if you read like the Avengers Forever maxi series that he would do that involves Kang the Conqueror, or if you read some of the later stuff where Jan is the chairwoman, like we're going to cover.
Yeah, she becomes head.
She's a major player, and I don't like that we devolve back into this conversation so often, but a lot of people's touchstone for Marvel is the MCU, and I just think it's such a missed opportunity, and maybe you'll agree now that you've read more and you've watched more Janet Van Dyne. It's such a missed opportunity to me that she's been relegated to a supporting character in Ant-Man movies instead of being
star of the show, kind of.
Yeah, kind of like a frontline member.
That is a good point. And yeah, we talked on that before, mentioning Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow and perhaps budget. I think a lot of it comes down to budget.
Very well,
I really do.
Very well could.
I really do. But I will say Michelle Pfeiffer as Wasp. As Jan, not a bad pick, right?
I mean, honestly, slam dunk casting. Slam dunk casting. Who else would you want to pick after hearing that name? Like, incredible inspiration.
Was it Ant-Man 3 Into the Quantum Realm?
Quantumanium?
Quantumania.
Which is also a Kang-centric.
Yeah, they gave Jan a bit of an arc in that, which was nice.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So anyway, there's some cool moments. Hawkeye gets to run the gun turret and show that he's like a marksman with all kinds of weaponry.
Yeah, he's got a ton of trick arrows in this.
They breach the hull of the Damocles base, and Ant-Man has kind of a moment where he's like, so what's the plan? And they're like, well, we're going to go fight Kang. And he's like, oh, right. Violence first. Forgot.
Wasp says this is going bad.
Yeah. There's this group of soldiers who confront the Avengers once they breach Damocles. And I didn't have time to look into this, and maybe you did. I'm not sure. Were those soldiers anachronauts? Were they references to Avengers 8? Do we know? Did you get anything on
I
these
caught in the subtitles that the one that spoke is called Elite.
Elite. Oh, so like maybe one of his elite guard.
Yeah, and I had the same feeling. They seem like they're characters from the comics.
They got a lot of play if they weren't characters from the comic. They got a lot of play for being original characters. It was a good fight. It was entertaining to watch.
Yeah, it was. It was good.
But yeah, I couldn't place them in my comic lexicon of who they were maybe adapting with those.
Let us know.
Let us know. Contact at IssuesWithCartoons.com. And then Kang kind of comes in as the final boss battle for the whole episode.
It is like that. And, Iron Man and Wasp are in space, so it's like this battle's going on, and they're doing stuff outside the base or Damocles and trying to enter. So there's like 2 entry points, and some of Kang's men mention that.
And Wasp, not for the last time, solves one of the problems of the episode where they can't get in, and Wasp is like, oh, I know how to get in. We should mention too that earlier in the episode they had Ultrons involved in the fight, and at the end of this, we think only one of the Ultrons made it, Ultron 5, which is significant if you've read Avengers comics.
Yeah.
But just worth mentioning that throughout all this, Ultron is kind of an ad hoc member of the team, as the others have been kind of wiped out by Kang's army.
Yeah, all the other Ultrons get wiped out. One thing I wanted to mention as well is when Iron Man and Wasp are breaking back into Damocles, Iron Man brings up his Unibeam attack, which is like one of his types of lasers from the comics that comes out of his suit. And it's also one of his moves in Marvel vs. Capcom 2. So you hit that combination and Iron Man will be like, Unibeam. And so I loved hearing it name dropped here.
Sure. Well, yeah. and it gets some play in the MCU, but I think the MCU says something to the effect of I can't use that too often or something like that.
Yeah.
But would this be a good time for you to go into your Iron Man rant about his tech on this show?
I just don't feel, after watching 20 episodes of the show, I don't feel like I've seen enough of his tech utilized. I want to see rockets flying out of his armor. I want to see his arm getting blown off and we see the human underneath a little bit. I want to see his force fields. I want to see his arms turn into weapons. I want more of that transformative Iron Man stuff, and it hasn't been present.
Yeah,
he just kind of flies around. Tony. Yeah, just flies around and shoots stuff,
flies around, shoots stuff, and it's just like an asshole the whole time. Yeah,
yeah. I kind of want him to project his shield, which he does a few times, but I don't
none of the things you mentioned are things he's never done. He's done some variation of most of those occasionally, but I think your point is he should be way more effective than he is.
Exactly,
because he is more effective than the show portrays. And I wonder if that's just a product of him being part of an ensemble that has to make room for all these characters. And if he can solve everything with all these hidden missiles that he has, then why do you have Hawkeye there? You know what I mean?
Did you catch the part with the mention of Wakanda?
Oh, yeah, where they were, of course, one of the most effective counterattacks in the whole invasion.
So they're keeping track of where all of Kang's ships are around the globe, and then, it's like Star Wars, one of Kang's henchmen is at his computer screen. He's like, oh, all the ships in Wakanda are being destroyed, sir,
Yeah.
So it's implied that Black Panther and Wakandans took them all out.
Your trivia, by the way, for this episode is that the voice of that henchman is Rick Wasserman, who is the voice of Thor. So even though Thor was taken out for the count, Rick Wasserman still had work to do, which is good. But yeah, Wakanda kind of is has the reputation in comics anyway of being a country that has never been successfully invaded, and so it makes sense that that would be one of the first nations to drive off Kang's forces.
I thought it was cool. I thought it was a nice little thing to put in there.
I love that they're like the most effective badass country of the entire world.
Yeah, it's fits.
So they realize that in order to stop Kang, they have to go to wherever the tachyon particles are heaviest, because that's where like the chronal engine is. That's where like the time stream manipulation is able to happen. Mm-hmm. So they go there, and they're getting ready to destroy it, and then Kang shows up for the final boss battle. And Cap tries to reason with him. He says, like, we can work together. Like, we both want the same thing. I don't want your future to be destroyed. You don't want your future. Like, let's work this out. And he said the only solution is conquest, which is conquest is the solution.
Yeah.
The actual line, which is a good, hard line coming from Kang the Conqueror. I really like that line.
I like this exchange, too. I have it in my notes as well. I wrote it down.
Go on. Did you get the next part?
And then Cap says, I've seen this before.
Yeah.
He's like, I've seen this from, Hitler and World War II, and I've heard people say this before. Yeah, basically.
Yeah, so have we, Carl. So, and then, like, after a little bit of a fight, Captain America says, well, I know who can beat you, and that's Iron Man. And in a really interesting moment where, like, a lot of this arc for Tony has been, he's the futurist who is relegated to being obsolete because he's fighting the future that's beyond what he can prepare for.
Comprehend, yeah.
And this arc ends with him learning Kang's technology, which really should be the end of the show. He's mastered time manipulation.
It leads to Kang's defeat. Up to this point, Kang is mopping the floor with all the Avengers. Like, he doesn't have an issue with any of them. And then Iron Man shows up. He's like, I understand your tech now. It's over.
Yeah. And there's a really cool, like, visually... Sebastian Montez directs a really cool fight with this, where like there's that shot where they're all in silhouette because Kang reaches into some portals and pulls out some blades and stuff, some like melee weapons, and they start fighting, and they do this shot where it's all in silhouette and they're fighting, and it looks really, really sharp.
All the fight scenes in this were good. Really, it's a good fight scene. It delivers.
And then ultimately, when Ultron is able to hack into Damocles,
I like that
with
part.
Iron Man's help. Oh yeah, it was great.
That was cool.
Absolutely cool. They're about ready to destroy the. They send all the ships back to their timeline. Yeah. And they're about to do that to Damocles, and then Wasp comes in and once again solves the problem. Using Hank's initial plan, which was to kind of talk things out, right? Because Hank shows up on Damocles, is like, so what's the plan? Mm-hmm. And is disappointed when he finds out the plan is, well, we're going to fight him.
Yeah.
Wasp ends up kind of following through with what Hank probably would have preferred and ends up solving the whole thing.
Negotiates.
Because she brings in Ravonna.
Yeah, she and Tony find Ravonna. Yeah, she brings her in.
And so the solution is, like, they're going to try to figure out how to fix Ravonna's situation, and then at the end, Kang is in Prison 42 in a moment that will echo something that we're going to talk about in the second half of the show. Before that, though...
Couple teases.
Couple
cool teases,
yeah. Who's checking out Ravonna and seeing how to fix Ravonna?
We have our first appearance of Mr. Fantastic.
The very first episode appearance. Like, we've seen a picture of him. Mm-hmm. We've had him name dropped. We finally see Mr. Stretcherson himself. And I made that joke and I said it and it was hard to say. We see Reed Richards himself, Mr. Fantastic, in the episode, along with Herbie the Robot.
Don't you mean that guy from Incredibles?
Yeah, exactly. That guy. Plastic Man? No. Really, really cool. He doesn't have any lines, but, I mean, seeing Tom Perkins' character design.
It was fun.
Of the Fantastic Four characters.
And he's just in the lab with Pym, and they're studying Ravonna.
Yeah, I mean, it's blink and you miss it, honestly. Like, if you don't pay too much attention, but it's cool. It is very, very cool. But yeah, and then we cut from there to the prison where, Oh
wait, there's another tease too.
Oh no, what did I forget? Tell me.
There is the Ultron tease.
Oh yes.
Yes, they cut to Ultron 5, and they zoom in to his eyes, and you get like that menace of, okay, Ultron is coming. And I know who Ultron is, listeners.
Sure, yeah, we've all seen Avengers 2. Really interesting, and we'll talk more about Ultron later in this season, but I like the kind of tragic angle of Ultron learning violence and becoming kind of a drafted soldier, and it just kind of ruins him. And I just really like the tease of him being kind of evil, possibly.
So, yeah, this Ultron is corrupted by the actions of this episode.
Right, well, and by the actions of this whole event where, like, before he was, like, this pacifist helper. He was Hank. He was Ant-Man Hank.
He was Herbie.
Yeah, he was like Herbie. He and Herbie would go, imagine.
Herbie wouldn't hurt anyone.
Being in the same room as Ultron. That's crazy that they were in the same room together.
What if
Ultron corrupts Herbie? That would be... Herbie would be the toughest Ultron.
Enough said.
Because he's so sweet. But yeah...
yeah, we're back at the prison.
Yeah, and so they go to the prison, and I don't know, did you write down anything that Kang said?
Kang basically is sitting there, and Cap walks up to him with Iron Man, and he gives him a very cryptic, the worst is yet to come. Right. I've seen this timeline before.
Right.
I know what's going to happen, and everything bad's going to happen, so I'm assuming something to do with Ultron.
Sure. Alright, so you're a little more versed in the MCU, I think, than I am. Like, you've seen pretty much everything.
I'm pretty current.
I've not seen some stuff. There's some things that I skipped.
Okay, what's your question?
My question is, given your full view of the MCU, and given what you've seen of this show... Right. What you've seen of this show since, like, episode 1 through now 19.
Okay.
Your comparison to the two Kangs. Let's just narrow it to the two Kangs.
Oh, wow. We're going to talk about that.
Let's talk about it, because this is the last that we're going to get to talk about Kang for a while in the cartoon. We're going to talk about him in the comics.
Okay.
But I'm interested in your ideas, your thoughts on Jonathan Majors Kang versus Jonathan Adams Kang. Or Jeremy Adams? Who's the actor?
I don't think... I think they gave him a good arc when he's finally introduced. I think the build-up to Kang in Loki Season 2...
Sure.
And knowing what happened to Jonathan Majors in real life. Yes. With some of the stuff where he was publicly fired and all this stuff.
Right.
And
really kind of kneecapped the whole thing.
Yeah, I feel like some of that setup in Loki Season 2 was unnecessary in retrospect.
Knowing where it was
knowing where it goes. Because it doesn't really go anywhere.
I mean, at this point, we're recording this, and like we're recording this before Fantastic Four comes out, before Cap 4 comes out, before Thunderbolts comes out. Like, we've not seen any of that stuff.
Yeah.
But as far as we're aware, like the most recent installment of the MCU was Wolverine and Deadpool.
Right.
And there was no Kang talk in a very multiversal movie. As far as we know, Kang is pretty much done. And so there's a lot of this wasted potential, I guess, is kind of what we're both getting at.
I think they set him up well in Ant-Man 3. I'll say that. And I felt like they did give him some depth, and I think the performance was good.
It was great.
And,
it's honestly...
That's kind of what I had to say about it.
It's a shame, yeah. Yeah, and I think in contrast, where you have kind of a seed planted all the way in episode 4, and then you bring it all the way to episode, 17? Episode 17, when this whole Kang story started. I feel like it was a very satisfying, very earth-shattering, very worthy arc of an Avengers story. And I thought Jonathan Adams did a great portrayal. I thought the designs were great. I thought the action was great. I thought the writing was really strong in this whole sequence. Is this our first 3-parter? This might be our first 3-parter.
If we could have gotten this on film, I would have been happy.
Oh, yeah.
Like, if they did, like, a one-off...
If this was a movie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they just gave us, like, one-off Kang versus the Avengers. Like, imagine, what is it, Avengers 9 when he first shows up?
8, yeah.
I keep messing that up.
That's
anyway, Avengers 8. Like, give us Avengers 8 for the intro of the movie. Mm-hmm. And then for the second and third act, give us the spaceship.
It was Kang Dynasty.
And the Avengers facing them. That could have been Avengers 4. It could have been.
Yes, absolutely. I completely agree with you. And this goes back to a conversation we had before, which I'll just reiterate, which is I think if Jonathan Majors as Kang, or whoever they would have recast, which we can talk about that separately.
Yeah, if they might do that.
Well, they won't, but it makes the most sense too. He's a character built for recasting.
We'll see.
They might.
We'll see. But, I'm not sure.
In my head, like, making him a multiversal character instead of a time traveling character first gave them too much. Like it was more than they bit off more than they could chew. I think that's the success of this show. Is like instead of getting bogged down by the multiverse. It's literally the future versus the past, which is what Avengers 8 was. And even the Kang Dynasty was all the future versus the past. There's no multiversal shenanigans in there.
I think this succeeds more in having a theme. Like what you brought up with like Tony bringing up the futurism and a future versus past. That comes across in this cartoon. In this 3-parter.
As opposed to what we got in the films. Action.
In the films, I don't know if there is a larger story at play there. There's a lot of plot.
A lot of set pieces, yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of set pieces and plot. There's a lot of point A to point B to point C, but it doesn't really thematically tell us anything.
Yeah, but in this, like we have, like Captain America and Iron Man both kind of have internal problems that Kang represents. Where, Tony is fighting a future he can't prepare for, and that's the only thing he's good at is preparing for the future. And Cap is a man out of time, which directly creates the problem that he feels like he has to resolve, and he can't because of the nature of him being a man out of time. Super interesting stuff.
It is. It gets brought up in the episode too when Kang's fighting Captain America. It brings a lot of what you were talking about up.
Yeah, really, really great. Again, Brian Reed, great episode, great script.
The performance of Kang in the cartoon is solid. Like and sometimes cartoons for me, especially like superhero stuff, can miss the mark on the voice casting.
Oh yeah.
Like there's been some stuff I've watched. I'm not gonna say any names, but there's been some stuff I've watched where I didn't feel like the voice actor matched the character.
It really has to be this crazy alchemy of direction, of design, of performance, of sound. It's really, and it's one of the reasons why it's one of my favorite mediums, is like, even more than live action, where you at least have a human being to relate to. Like, you have to create an environment, and it all has to make sense, and it all has to be compelling, and I feel like this does it. So, any more thoughts on this episode?
I don't have anything else. Kyle, you got anything on Kang?
No, other than the comic talk that we're going to have after the break.
Hello, welcome back to Issues with Cartoons, and we are now in our comic book segment where we'll be finishing up our coverage of Kang Dynasty.
Yeah, we're going to cover the back half. Carl, so this is issues 48 through 55. This makes up the majority of the end of Busiek's run. He did have one more kind of one-off issue after this, but this was, for all intents and purposes, the concluding batch of issues by Kurt Busiek, and finishing off the Kang Dynasty storyline.
Ambitious.
And a lot of what we covered in the first half of the storyline was a lot of proxy wars and a lot of kind of chaos going on around the world. Now we're getting into like Kang is being very involved and is really kind of laying down the hammer on Earth. And I wanted to get your reaction to issue 48. Which is the cover has the Sentinels on it.
Yeah.
And it kind of presents the plot twist where the Avengers have sort of failed to stop Kang, so the people of Earth send these Sentinels after him, and Kang's response is sort of devastating.
I liked it because they built up the Sentinels as such a big plot thread.
Yeah.
And then they finally, of course it happens. And the general fires off the Sentinels and they all go flying into space. And Kang is relatively unaffected by them. And doesn't he take them over?
He takes them over.
He takes all the Sentinels. So he fires off all these Sentinels at him. And Kang's just like, oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
And I think he references the fact that when he was Victor Timely, which is a persona of Kang I've talked about before.
Loki Season 2.
And from Loki Season 2. He was a machinist and like an engineer and worked in robotics.
In the past, yeah.
And was able to kind of plant seeds to be able to have a back door to taking over things like the Sentinels. Really just a good kind of like, stomach dropping moment for the Avengers, and you see these Sentinels kind of behind this giant hologram of Kang right off the bat. But this issue had a lot going on. It set up stuff with the Triune Understanding and that giant pyramid. It set up the Master of the World is killed by Warbird in this issue, which has ramifications.
That was a big moment, because that comes up throughout this run. It comes up later, and she has feelings about it. She didn't want to kill him in that moment, but she kind of crossed her own. Carol Danvers kind of crossed her own line there and killed him.
And it has a lot of ramifications for the Scarlet Centurion later, which I want to talk about. But worth noting also that this issue 48 is one of a handful of issues drawn by Kieran Dwyer, who has had a long history in the comics industry, worked on some Captain America issues that I was aware of, has a pretty good run of Avengers issues even after Busiek leaves. But his collaborator is a familiar name to you and me, because it's Rick Remender.
Right.
Rick Remender, celebrated writer in kind of the mid to late 2000s, is still a great writer who's working now. Things like Uncanny Avengers, Uncanny X-Force.
Love that run. I'm a big fan of both of those.
Fear Agent, Black Science, Strange Girl. I mean, I could list a bunch of Rick Remender stuff.
He's
Deadly Class.
Almost
all kinds of stuff.
Almost made more of a name as a writer than an artist.
And that's what I was going to get at. I think
interesting.
people forget that he has some art background even before he was a writer, which is a story with a lot of very celebrated writers. A lot of comics writers began as writer-artists or just artists.
This is in that weird era, too. I'm looking at one of these pages with one of the spaceships.
Yeah.
And this is one of those weird eras where Marvel was still inking pages traditionally and adding a lot of digital effects. Has that aged well for you, Kyle? What are your thoughts on that?
Some people do it better than others.
Fair.
This
well said.
This was colored by. Let me find the colorist. Comic crafted the letter. It doesn't have
a studio. Yeah, a studio man.
Yeah, probably a studio.
There was a lot of this.
Tom Smith did the colors. The example you're showing where they kind of blur out like the engine.
Yeah, like yay or nay. Do we need this mist effect in front of these characters? Like this, like
I'll tell you where it bothers me even more than on the ship. It's where this fog kind of gets blurred out, and then like you say, you have this kind of layer of fog over the ink work. Yeah, I don't love it. To me, it's kind of moving away from what I like about comic book art. But I mean, as you say, this came out in 2002, well, let's say 2001, 2002. And this is when they were just trying to... Honestly, it's better than some of the experimental stuff they would get before this, where they were just really
for sure.
hatching at the art.
They're still trying to figure it out, even.
Yeah. I'll forgive it. Honestly, as I was reading it, a lot of the times I didn't even notice it. I kind of tuned it out. That's what I mean. So I'd say this does it... I won't call it effectively. I'll say unobtrusively. Like, it doesn't get in the way of the storytelling to me.
I think some of this is interesting too, and it's kind of like a part of this era is like you'll have like speed lines around like Damocles. I'm saying his ship wrong.
Damocles.
We have Damocles, and some of the action lines around it are a different color.
Yep.
And they do that a lot, and it gives the feel of like a vintage comic book, but it is like one of the modern things they do with this. But I think that is fine. Like, that doesn't bother me.
I think it works fine. I really like Kieran Dwyer's art with Rick Remender. Rick Remender's looks good on this.
All the characters are on model.
Yeah, for
like
sure.
Yeah, he's able to draw a good Cap. He draws a good Wasp. You know,
I really like his Kang. His Kang looks really good.
Kang's
but what was really interesting, I remembered this month in comics with Marvel, was that issue 49, if I can skip ahead, was a Nuff Said issue. Do you remember Nuff Said?
Oh yeah, I definitely want to talk about this, because I think it's interesting how Kurt Busiek had such a long run on this title, and he perfectly inserted his Nuff Said issue in here, and it made sense in the larger story.
In like a super pivotal issue.
Like how far
plot-wise, super important.
How far ahead was that planned? It's remarkable how well he wove that into his narrative, because just to explain it to our listeners,
Please, yes.
Nuff Said was an initiative by Marvel where every title that came out that month didn't have dialogue. So it was all told exclusively with pictures. So, like, I remember the Paul Jenkins, Peter Parker Spider-Man from this era had, like, Spider-Man fighting a bunch of clowns in a clown car, and there was no dialogue throughout it. And,
the Peter David Captain Marvel run with Genis Vel, I wish I remembered offhand who drew it. I don't think it was Criss Cross who was the artist on the majority of that run, but it could have been. That also had a very pivotal plot moment, and it was told completely wordless. Nuff Said, I'm sure most people listening to this know, was a catchphrase by Stan Lee, and so they were appropriating that for this event. I'm trying to remember, the other title I would have been reading at this time would have been Captain America, and I don't remember the Nuff Said issue of that. But I like it as an excuse for artists to show off their storytelling, and you need good storytellers to pull off an issue like this. So I think, again, Kieran Dwyer, who's been doing comics at least since the 80s, a good choice, because his acting and his storytelling really well suited for a silent issue.
I remember the storytelling in Amazing Spider-Man was particularly good too, because it was like right after Aunt May found out that Peter was Spider-Man in that continuity.
Who was the artist?
John Romita Jr.
Oh, well,
instead of 2000s John Romita, Michael Straczynski.
Can you imagine just feeling like you won the lottery when you get a silent issue and John Romita Jr. is your artist?
It was beautiful.
Oh my God.
It was
one
a
of the
comic.
best storytellers in modern comics. I mean, incredibly effective storyteller.
His Deadline style.
But man, he could sell it though. And this issue, so the reason this issue is so important, Kang destroyed, as a consequence of the Avengers using the Master of the World's base to fight back against Damocles, and for using the pyramid as a to fight against Damocles, he blows up Washington, D.C.
Yeah, he's like, you broke the rules of our engagement.
Yeah.
Now I have to destroy the Capitol and, take things to the next level, which he threatens in the first issue of this.
Right, yeah. He says,
he sets the ground rules.
He does. And, I mean, this super major plot point that we just said, completely silent. Delivered completely silently. It's devastating. I mean, the way they show, like this page of Thor walking amongst the ruins, then crumbling to his knees. Because we've been reading his conversations with Firebird about how you shouldn't get attached to mortals because of you're immortal and like their lives are a flash in the pan, and you shouldn't get attached. And then you see him walking down the street, and he's surrounded by skeletons, and he's just screaming in agony, and it's all silent.
It's cinematic. You almost could put like a movie score behind this, especially like this scene where Kang is marching in with the Sentinels. And I love again, back to this art, like, I love the expression. Kang is confident. He's marching into this smiling.
I'm glad you bring that up, because I think what you need to have an effective silent issue is not just impeccable storytelling, you need impeccable character acting. Mm-hmm. You need to be able to sell what's going on behind the eyes in your character drawings. And the body language, the facial expressions, like you say, just the aura that Kang exudes, even like the devastation or like the panic in some of these characters' faces. It all has to work, and if it doesn't, then it's going to fall flat. And I don't think this issue falls flat. One of my favorite issues in the whole storyline, honestly.
It works really well having the enough said issue, the silent issue, be the moment of Kang's triumph.
Yeah.
And I was really surprised Marvel destroyed Washington, D.C. In fact, reading this, I thought they were going to time travel and do this.
I'm so glad you bring this up, because this is something I want to talk about as a larger point about this story. This doesn't happen anymore, where a writer can, inside of their story, tell a world-shaking event and let it just be something in the story. And in this storyline, we see Spider-Man and Wolverine, we see the Fantastic Four, we get name checks of Alpha Flight and the X-Men, but I bet you if we go to their books that month, Kang would not have been mentioned. It was just allowed to exist as this big story, this magnum opus, this concluding arc for a very celebrated Avengers writer, and everyone stayed out of his way. If this were published today, or even 10 years later, and we talked about this last episode, this would have been a 6-issue maxi series with 20 tie-in issues.
Yeah.
Plus whatever is going on in the main titles.
Absolutely. It would have been a big crossover.
And it would have diluted the impact. And this, all the characters that are the principal characters in this story, the ones who actually matter, you get exactly how they're feeling, their motivations, their stakes, everything. Everyone's written in character. Everyone's written kind of on model. And I just feel like it's so effective.
And they don't retcon it.
And they
don't retcon it. Whereas, like, Grant Morrison did his big story where Magneto destroyed New York.
Great call.
And their story gets excluded.
That's honestly, that is a fantastic point, because that was probably one of the last times that a writer attempted to do something like this.
Same era.
Yeah, same editor-in-chief.
Yeah.
Same editor-in-chief. Yeah. That's a great point, and I wonder if that's the moment. I wonder if in the history of Marvel, if that's the moment where like, editorial decided, actually, you can't do those kind of stories anymore. Guys like Kurt Busiek were there to do their story that way. We don't let you do that anymore. You can't blow up whole cities. You can't change entire character arcs without it involving the whole universe.
Do you think that Busiek was kind of reflecting the Ultimates a little bit, seeing what Mark Millar was doing? Because, these books were coming out at the same time.
You're right. I don't think so. I think this honestly was a response. No, I think this was a response to 9/11. This whole second half felt very post 9/11.
And look, you even have George Bush reacting.
Well, and I was going to bring up George Bush. He has speaking lines later in the storyline. Yeah, and there's that cover. It's very reminiscent. The cover of 55, where they're kneeling in front of the memorial, felt familiar to anyone who lived through 9/11.
Yeah.
That felt to me more like, and it was probably just I don't want to call it a happy accident, but it was just probably a coincidence that the world was looking like the kind of story that Busiek was preparing to tell, because this whole 16-issue arc was probably already in the outline by the time 9/11 happened, and he was just able to kind of seize the moment as a writer and make it connect, and have characters like George W. Bush, who when these issues were coming out, the height of Bush's popularity was when these issues were coming out, because he was America's president. Like, he was the leader of a post 9/11 America.
Yeah, people were applauding him at that time.
And everyone was behind. Like, I think he might have had a record-setting approval rating at that point. But I only bring that up because I think if this were coming out before 9/11, he wouldn't be in here. Or he wouldn't have been in here to the extent that he was. He wouldn't have had a speaking moment.
It's strange how many comics he showed up in. Because he was in this. He was in Ultimates.
He was in Ultimates.
He was also in Ultimate X-Men. There's a famous scene that echoes this. Where, you know, Kang is controlling all these Sentinels. Magneto took control of all the Sentinels. And I think
I'd
Ultimate
forgotten that completely.
Yeah, Ultimate X-Men 6... And he has George Bush on the White House lawn, and he's about to kill him.
Yeah. Oh shoot, I do remember that.
Yeah, yes. And that was drawn to be just not to digress too much, but that was drawn like George Bush. I mean, like that was George Bush in that comic book.
You know what's so funny? The issue, I think it was Ultimates 3 or 4, whichever one Captain America's thawed out, and you see George Bush. This is so funny that I remember. It is
3 or 4.
You see George Bush welcome Captain America to the modern day.
Yeah.
And the colorist, whoever the colorist was, do you remember the story about Bush choking on a pretzel?
Yeah, of course.
And falling.
Yeah, I
and
remember
had a bump on his head. They go back and look. They colored the bruise on Bush's forehead.
Really? Oh, they were salty.
Because it came out. Yeah, salty like a pretzel. Came out at the same time as that all happened. It's so funny.
Does Wasp's costume change throughout this?
I think so. I think this is the era. I think this is the era where Wasp wore different costumes throughout. And we should say, like, before we move on from this issue ends with Kang declaring victory and demanding that all the world declare allegiance to him. And in a great visual storytelling moment, he makes Wasp sign away control to Kang first.
Yeah, he makes her surrender.
She's the one who surrenders, which is such a gut punch.
I love that scene, actually.
And actually,
I love that
just
scene.
Thinking about this, with the context of Avengers 8 in our minds, having just read that, Wasp has had a direct hand in defeating Kang in Avengers 8, in Avengers Forever, and now he gets a chance to kind of seek revenge and like kind of take her down a peg. And this incredible, you're showing me now, this incredible silent sequence.
I love that it's not a physical victory. We could have had Wasp fight Kang. We could have done, typical big guy versus bad guy.
Victory.
Yeah, punch him out. And I love the way it's drawn. Kang's got his head held high. He's standing with his guard. Wasp looks utterly defeated. Kudos to the art. Yeah, because they really show it so well. And it just ends with, Wasp walking over and surrendering.
And look at the title that he gives this issue. There are no words. What a great title for a devastating issue.
I think it's crazy, and I brought this up to you outside the show, but I think it's crazy that Marvel let Busiek run wild with the story for like 16 issues. It's unprecedented. Yeah. You don't even get that now, really.
And you know what else kind of surprised me? Just hearing you say that, knowing that you're not an Avengers person.
Not really, yeah.
What a drop ball that this is not in print all the time as its own collection. Like a 16 issue.
This is?
I think there's like it's part of probably the Busiek Perez Omnibus collection. I'm sure it is. I know it is. But like in the same way that like Dark Phoenix Saga
is collected
as its own thing that you can always readily get. It's pushed by Marvel constantly.
Yeah.
How is it that there have been other Kang stories after this? Some very soon after this. How is this? I don't know what you attributed this to, but how is this just not like the default Kang story that you hand? Because this is more accessible, I think, than Avengers Forever, which I adore.
Yeah,
it's so.
But that has a lot of continuity.
Steeped in continuity. It's mired in continuity. Inarguably one of the best Kang stories of all time, but this one is so accessible and it's so good. It is. And it's so self-contained. I think a solid 16-issue, like, thick deluxe trade of this, and maybe because it's so long, I don't know, but I feel like this really should be
a hardcover collection.
A hardcover collection that every Avengers fan has. Every Avengers fan knows. And I'll even say, if that exists, it should be on every Avengers fan's shelf.
I agree. You know, it's kind of like its parallel for me would be like Dream's End for X-Men, or Eva Destruction, which was like the final classic suit X-Men story before we got Grant Morrison's reinvention. And that's how this reads, because like after this, from what I understand and what I've been reading of the Avengers timeline, is after this, Bendis comes on board and boom, you get Avengers Disassembled after this.
Yeah.
So this is like the last hurrah.
There's like maybe
Avengers.
a 2-year lag between the end of Busiek and the beginning of Bendis, but like almost nothing happens. Nothing of this scale. Nothing of this consequence happens.
I think just as somebody that's a fan of sequential art, like you owe yourself to check out this Enough Said issue.
Agreed.
In the context of it, and Marvel should put out a hardcover collection of this after reading the whole thing. And like you said, I'm not like a big Avengers guy. That me just coming into it, I really enjoyed it, and it's a great Avengers tale.
And you know what sucks? And I hate constantly bringing up the MCU, but the fact that Kang Dynasty is no longer the title of the next Avengers movie, I bet that probably was something they could have rolled out to tie into that movie coming out, and now that will never happen.
I think a lot of Marvel fans have opinions right now on Doomsday. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Not to tip the hand too hard, but we will have chances to talk about that in other episodes.
We're gonna cover it. I mean, like when that movie drops, we're gonna.
Oh yeah, well,
we're gonna talk about
even
it.
Amongst our Avengers Earth Mightiest Heroes coverage, we'll get to talk about some Doomsday.
Oh, little tease. All right, Avengers 50.
Issue 50 opens kind of with a bunch of lore about the Triune Understanding, and this kind of is just my excuse to ask you. I want to talk about the Triune Understanding and Jonathan Tremont and Triathlon and 3D Man. In general, how did you feel about that subplot?
Very convoluted, but God, Kurt Busiek has conviction. And he really...
He really wanted to sell that plot.
He really wanted to sell this to me, and he really wanted me to care about this church and Triathlon.
So, a little context for you, stretching all the way back to issue 8 of Busiek's run. The Triune Understanding has been involved in his story arcs throughout his whole run.
Yeah,
so
I know it's a thread. This is a conclusion.
A concluding thread to something that means nothing to you, and to anyone reading this is finally putting a cap on this whole Scientology riff that he was doing.
It is like a corrupt church.
Not for nothing, the Dwyer Remender art is very good in this issue. Convoluted is the word, because it is very kind of nebulous and sort of ethereal and sort of doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It is very easy to skim over. I like 3D Man as like an idea. I think it's cool. Character created in the 70s as like a throwback 50s character. I like his costume. I always thought he was kind of a neat sort of like retro character.
He's you know what it reminds me of? Which character from the DC universe? It's like Firestorm.
It is.
He's like an old guy mixed with a young guy.
Also a 70s character, so I wonder who came first.
Yeah, they're kind of sharing identities, and they're conjoined into one being.
So then they bring Triathlon, and they kind of mix him into
the whole I followed it. I read it.
You just didn't care.
I put my head down. I read it. It's
relevant to the story.
And I respect Kurt Busiek for writing all this and putting all these threads together, and he wants to eat his cake. That's fine. I'll let him eat his cake.
Yeah,
put all of his candles on the cake. He can blow them out.
Right. It is relevant to the way the plot resolves, I'll say.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it is. So it's all relevant.
You need to pay attention.
You need it.
It does have a reason for being there, and especially if you've been reading the last 50 issues, you need to know all that. But I'm just interested. I just wanted to know what your take is. We don't have to talk about it any more than we already have. And
no, I thought it was fine. The minister turning against him, and he's just kind of like, he's like,
and
big energy.
As it relates to our coverage of comparing the source material to the episode, absolutely has nothing to do with it. But
it doesn't have much to do with Kang, other than the Avengers taking control of the pyramid space.
Yeah, and it gives Triathlon and 3D Man access to the energies of the pyramid, which plays into the final fight at the end.
Exactly.
So, anyway,
exactly.
Great. Glad we talked about it. I want to talk about issue 51 because issue 51 was also a very interesting issue. It was the Wonder Man Scarlet Witch issue, which
I love this.
This was a great issue.
It's a good standalone issue.
And the artist on this was Brent Anderson, and we're going to talk about Astro City at some point on this channel. But Brent Anderson is the collaborator on Astro City, and it reads like an Astro City issue, and it's so good.
It's so cool that it's almost like Kang has taken over Earth, and this is like a story inside of one of the internment camps of like a side effect of Kang conquering Earth.
It's like, what's the world look like now?
Yeah, it's interesting. And this, and even, I gotta say this, like, even reading this one, I thought, I was like, oh, where's the time travel coming? And it never came. It never came. I'm like, you destroyed Washington, D.C. We have internment camps. So I was reading 51, and I was just like, all right, this is all going to get undone. And it never did.
No. And again, like, what?
Stakes.
That's it. Give it stakes.
Like actual stakes. And yeah, it feels like it matters.
Yeah. And he weaves in like character relationships, and they're having like this beautiful breakup amidst all the chaos of this prison camp. I mean, this is why Busiek is one of the best Avengers writers of all time, in my opinion, because he does these giant set pieces. And when I say it's like an Astro City issue, it's not just because Brent Anderson does an amazing job on the art. It's also because the trappings of the setting are not the point. It's the character relationships and how their emotional connections are affected by what's happening around them. It's so good.
Yeah, we get this cool sequence that kind of recaps the contract with Wasp surrendering.
Yeah, if you weren't able to follow the visual storytelling, it just makes it explicit.
Yeah, Kurt lays it all out, 2 pages. You know, it's a beautiful page of all the superheroes getting hunted down. Yeah. You know, it's implied that Spider-Man and Wolverine were able to escape, which, of course, you know, Wolverine's so powerful. Yeah, out of, like, everybody else in the Marvel Universe.
Those would be the 2 I would be like, oh, yeah.
They're not going to catch Peter. Peter's going to swim away.
Wolverine that Brent Anderson draws.
Oh, that looked good.
Logan. That's a sweet-looking Logan.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
A little Dark Hawk cameo? For all you Dark Hawk fans?
That's right, all 10 of you.
All 10 of you, and I bet 2 of you are listening. No, I mean, a really effective recap. And then Wonder Man and Scarlet Witch have been sort of the...
they're a couple here.
Yeah, they're kind of an emotional center of this whole run. So, going back to issue 2 of Busiek's run, Scarlet Witch brings Wonder Man back from the dead. And in issue 10, issue 11, she corporates him. She gives him like a body, and like he's able to like live amongst the world, and he's like fully back. And they're kind of connected together. And again, for any Avengers fans may know, Wonder Man's brains are what were used as the template for the Vision. So the Vision Scarlet Witch marriage and relationship has always been kind of a triangle with Wonder Man. Because Wonder Man fell in love with Scarlet Witch, and it was a whole thing. And this is the first time in the 20, 30 years of that whole situation that those 2 were a couple. Because Vision and Scarlet Witch are by now split up. And so this whole relationship has kind of been a thread throughout the whole run. And this is the end of it. But it's told while they're trying to plan a jailbreak. And great stakes for the jailbreak, too, where, like, Kang kills twice as many people as try to escape if you run. And, like, it's really intimidating and fascistic and just really brutal.
It's a cool setup. I love the ending
Oh,
this
what a
issue.
great turn.
It's
Talk
a
about
cool setup, and it just shows that Kurt is a master of writing comic books because it's such a cool twist. I got to the end of this one. I was actually pretty impressed with the ending of this one.
Honestly, this and the Nuff Said issue,
back to back,
almost back to back. I mean, you could argue it's one of the best runs in comics just with those two issues alone. It's really, really strong.
Whoa, in all of comics? I don't know about that.
Oh, the Avengers comics?
Oh, the Avengers comics. Sure, I'll give that to you.
Yeah. Sorry, did I say all the comics? Maybe this all the comics Kyle has read. But yeah, so they come up with a plan to basically try to escape and fake Wonder Man's death so that he can use an invisibility spell that she casts in order for him to get away and gather the other Avengers. And it's just so heartbreaking, and it's beautiful, and it's smart.
Yeah, it's played off that like Wonder Man's dead, and then it's revealed, it's a hex.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, like Wonder Man dying and coming back from the dead is like a huge theme of Busiek's run. Like Wonder Man struggles with the fact that he's been dead and came back twice. So it just really
all Marvel fans. Basically, what me and Kyle are saying is that all Marvel fans need to check out the Nuff Said issue and this one, and I would agree with that.
I think if you read those two issues and aren't interested in those issues, skip Kang Dynasty. It's not worth it to you.
Yeah.
I like what follows here. First of all, Ivan Reis again coming on art duties here.
Yeah, and it looks cool. It looks a little bit sharper. Like there's. And what I mean by sharper is there's a confidence in these lines.
Yeah.
Like it's all the poses are more dramatic. Like even there's a homage to Kang's first appearance. He's sitting on his little hover chair. There's great depth with his little dress that hangs from his arms. And stuff, but the panel on page 4 where Kang's sitting with his fingers crossed in the foreground, and you have a character in the middle ground, and you have a background. It's just good composition, and in fact, that's present in all the panels. There's great
at the bottom of that very page when you see all the Avengers breaking into the base, and you got Yellow Jacket in the foreground, and you got them kind of all descending through the planes of the page.
That is classic Kirby. Fantastic Four, like foreground, middle ground, and background. Kirby would always draw those characters like pointing at the camera, telling you things that were going on, and then you'd have the Thing doing like a lot of that classic Marvel flares here. Yeah, the art jumps up.
Yeah,
in this one,
really great.
It looks great.
And this is the issue where George W. Bush has a speaking role.
Really?
Yeah. So that's him talking to the Wasp.
There's Black Knight.
And Black Knight's in it. So it's one of the best comics in the whole thing.
You get a little bit of Black Knight there.
Stingray back there.
Like we said this in the last episode we covered of Kang Dynasty. It reads like Justice League Unlimited. It is Avengers on Avengers.
So many characters, and a lot of them are there for flavor, but it's a good flavor. It's good to have them all there.
I like it. I like the thing with Hank. Did we talk about the Avengers annual last time?
I don't think we talked about it, but you can talk about it real quick. I mean, I think we skimmed over it a little bit.
Yeah, there's a side story with Hank. He comes back as Yellow Jacket in this story, and is switching identities. That seems to happen a lot.
Yeah.
And it's kind of revealed that there's 3 versions of Hank by Busiek, and there's like
again a triune understanding tie-in.
There's almost like the corrupted version, which is Yellow Jacket, and then there's like the pure version, which is like when Hank first appears, and they're all fighting for Hank Pym's identity.
The psychology major in me has to point out that it's like the ego, the id, and the super ego. Like it's like his impulses, his logical brain, and then the persona that kind of ties all of them together and makes them function as a person, which is, Yellow Jacket is the id, and Goliath is the ego, and then Ant-Man is the super ego, kind of keep them all cogent and functional. So at the end of the issue, the Ant-Man persona arrives and gives them functionality, and then he decides to adopt the Yellow Jacket persona to kind of reclaim that persona.
It's an offshoot of this, though, too. It's not even part of this Kang Dynasty. It's like Busiek had so many ideas. He had to regulate that story to an annual.
And again, talking about this as an artifact of a storytelling gone by, decompression, I feel like, doesn't allow enough room for this many threads. And I think that's what's lost in decompression. I like decompressed storytelling. I grew up, I was in high school when decompressed storytelling was the fad.
Me too.
Yeah, we both were. And it's a great, very cinematic approach to comics. I do think you sacrifice something. And one of the things you sacrifice is the number of spinning plates that you can have. This is in keeping with the kind of Claremont model of ensemble storytelling. You can have multiple things going on and address all of them with enough substance that you feel like you walk away with a big meal at the end of an issue. And I think this is an example of that.
Kyle, would it be wrong to say that this Avengers story is the most seeped in Avengers continuity? I mean, there's probably not many stories that have this much continuity. I mean, they give Firestar a cameo.
Yeah.
From Spider-Man or Amazing Friends. Everybody gets a little shout out in this.
Firestar is a member at this point. I don't know.
Yeah, she shows up quite a bit.
Yeah, she's a full-fledged Avenger at this point. I mean, other than Avengers Forever. I mean, that's what that's what Kang brings. And that's why he's a great Avengers villain. It's because he brings all of time with him. And with that, you get a ton of continuity, you get a ton of characters, you get a ton of cross-sectional looks at Marvel as a universe.
So
and that's why it's so...
Kang is more indicative of that than...
I think he necessitates that.
He necessitates
I think you need a lot of Avengers to take care of Kang. And I think that's the benefit of having Kang as your antagonist.
Also,
but I mean, you're not wrong. It's a major.
Yeah, it feels like. I just wanted to ask you that because you're more familiar with the continuity.
Sure, I mean, Busiek brings a ton of continuity with him. And
that's what I mean. Could anybody else do this story? Is like kind of what I want to touch on. Yeah, it's like does anybody else?
After Busiek leaves, I don't know that we have many examples of this without it spilling out into a multi-title event.
It's almost like Claremont. It's like, does anybody know the lore as well to write something like this? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it comes down to that.
I agree. I mean, honestly, I kind of put guys like Busiek and Claremont, or like Mark Waid is another one. Like people who know continuity, like it's their family history.
Yeah.
Like they are just encyclopedic with that, and I think they bring that energy to these stories, and they make such a rich, like nutritious meal of a story with it. I hear that. I think you're right.
So are we jumping ahead to?
Other than just to say this issue ends with the final boss fight of hologram Kang versus hologram Captain America, and you get issue 53, which is kind of the knockout drag out fight between Kang and Captain America,
and they're both giant. But I think there was a big moment too. They hyped up before the Cap and Kang fight. They really hype up Tony shooting up again.
Yeah, you're right.
Because Tony,
we haven't seen him in Iron Man all this time.
That's what I mean. We haven't seen Tony the whole time, and this is a big Avengers event. This is like the last hurrah of classic Avengers, as you put it. And, they give Tony a big moment to kind of suit up and head out into battle, which I appreciated.
And before, I guess, we move on to the Cap fight, too, one other moment that happened that, if you blink, you miss it, and I think you actually are on that page, is when Kang is talking to Marcus. He's talking to the Scarlet Centurion. He's like, I just don't understand how they could have taken over the Master of the World's base. Mm-hmm. And Scarlet Centurion kind of pauses, and he's like, I don't know either.
That's the betrayal.
And he gave it away. He gave it away. And Kang does this a couple of times where he tries to give Marcus a chance to come clean, and he won't. And that matters.
And that plays in Marcus's Kang's biological son he's constructed.
Yep, they're undoing. And so again,
anyway, yeah,
you
back
get
to
this whole issue 53 is kind of just a big fight.
It is,
and it's a good fight. It's a great fight. The Avengers are taking on Kang's forces.
Well, hold on, I gotta say for the listeners, it's like Kang climbs into It's almost like Pacific Rim.
Yes,
it's like he's in a spaceship. Kang walks into a room. He puts on his sci-fi armor and he conjures like a psychonic or like a manifestation of himself in a larger form,
like an avatar.
And an avatar form in space. And Cap does the same out of the pyramid ship, and then we got a big fight in space. It's zany and cool.
And worth noting too, as we're flipping through, is Warbird flies into the heart of the Damocles base to find the chronal engine, very similar to what we saw in the episode.
Oh, I love that part.
And Scarlet Centurion's there to stop her. And Jack of Hearts, who I don't know why Jack of Hearts is there, but Jack of Hearts shows up to basically do what Warbird won't, which is take out Scarlet Centurion, and then she dives in to the heart of this engine, and it references her binary power, where she had this relationship with this star, like she was channeling the power of this white dwarf star.
She couldn't tap into it, but now she feels it again.
She has the capacity of a white dwarf star, so she uses that to suck in the energy from the engine and then send it back out to basically blow up the Damocles base.
I am not gonna lie, I love this moment. I was so hyped about this because it's like great continuity. It's calling back to, like you said, the binary identity. It's Carol kind of taking destiny into her hands.
It's the culmination of her whole arc from all of Busiek's run, and honestly going all the way back to that god awful issue 200 that we read, where she basically reclaims herself as a powerhouse and almost single-handedly takes out the Damocles base.
It's cool.
And then Kang refuses Marcus's plan to basically leave Earth, leave the present and go back to the future and regroup and come back. And he says, time is our canvas, not a weapon, which is such a cop-out. And he sends Marcus away and says, I'm going to fight to the end. And Damocles crashes, and we go to issue 54, which is the actual final fight, and we see the Damocles.
It's on the ground, though.
Oh, the sword basically plunged into the earth. Really just incredible. And
it's great art. It's great art. So it's like they defeat
Karen Dwyer again. Yep.
Yeah, so they defeat Kang in space. Marcus gets thrown in an escape pod, Star Wars style. It
was very Star Wars, the whole thing. Even the explosion of the Imperial Star Destroyer that is the Damocles. It was very Star Wars.
Yeah, so they're on the surface now, and this fight's breaking out between Cap and Kang.
This 9-panel grid.
That was so classic. And
so good.
I love that was in there because that is something Kirby would have drawn.
Oh, yeah. And that final knockout punch where you see Kang unmasked and he's taken down, and then the fight's over and they're kind of regrouping and they fly by a celebration.
This punch though, where Cap finally takes Kang out and Kang's on the ground, bloodied and bruised. My first impression reading this, I was like, wow, this is kind of brutal for a Marvel comic book.
Well, and that panel, I like that you call back that attention to that panel, because then he's talking about there will never be men like you again if you are actually fighting for a better future. Again, kind of referencing that anti-fascist sentiment that you get in the episode.
I even like what Kang says before he falls down. He's like, well struck, Captain. You are truly worthy of this great... He just falls over, he's about to give his Dr. Evil monologue.
Yeah.
And he just collapses.
And the speech he gives before that knockout punch where he's like, what an honor for you to be the one to try to finish me off. And that's the thing that pisses Cap off. And then he's like, oh, I'm just going to deck you because you're pissing me off. So you get some resolutions to the triathlon stuff, and you get that kind of celebration. And Carol's like, we need to talk about me killing the master of the world.
She feels guilt about that's where that comes back around and gets resolved.
All that stuff is great. Hank kisses Jan. It's all great. I want to talk about the prison.
Okay,
because this is the moment that we kind of get an allusion to in the episode. This starts off a sequence that I need to talk to you about.
If we're going to compare Siege to Watchmen, and we're going to compare this to Siege, is like big, epic Avengers arc. This is our Watchmen moment. This is where Dr. Manhattan goes and talks to Ozymandias. This moment.
This is the turn.
Kyle, I'm going to let you have the floor.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so Kang is so happy because he's going out like a king who conquered the 21st century successfully.
Blew up Washington, D.C.
Blew up the nation's capital. Produced an heir to the throne that he thinks is worthy of taking over his empire. Is a prisoner of war, is a political prisoner, is going to be executed like the nobleman he is, and his freaking son, Carl, comes in like
Marcus
like a doof and says, "I'm here to free you." And Kang is pissed.
Kang just wants to sit and wallow in his victory.
He's so pissed, Carl. He takes him back to his ship, shows him his private quarters, and finds a freaking mausoleum of dead Marcuses. And I remember reading this, and I'm like, what?
All the failed Marcuses.
This is Marcus 23, because Kang has tried this over and over again, and every one of these dudes keeps screwing up, and he keeps screwing up, and he keeps screwing up, and he's like, oh, finally, I got one.
And he still fails, but to be fair,
fails.
Kang has impossible standards. This dude is you can't live up to Kang.
Because Kang, I think secretly
wants to rule the universe.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. Secretly, he doesn't want you to live up to it because that means you would take over, and no one takes over from Kang. He's the conqueror. Mm-hmm. No one conquers Kang.
So yeah, tell the listeners what happens.
So Kang knew the whole freaking time. Kang knew the whole time what happened in issue 47 when Marcus helped Carol kill the Master of the World and give the Avengers that one leg up. That ultimate betrayal that Marcus would not own up to.
Yeah.
And throughout this whole section of the storyline, he tried to give him chances and wouldn't take the chances. So Kang brings his son in for a hug, admits that, yeah, you were a clone, I've tried over and over, and you were the best of them. I'm still gonna fucking stab you in the chest.
It's almost, it's like Caesar or something.
It's like Caesar. It's like Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
It is just absolutely conniving.
Kang's got this little knife. He just pulls it out of his boot and he's just like, walk with me, son.
His thigh-high boot.
It's like Godfather. He's like, come walk with me, son. Walk with me.
Let's go on the fishing boat.
Let me take you through the garden real quick, and then stabs him.
Yeah, and it's heartbreaking,
but
it's also merciless.
I love
and
it.
it's like Busiek's understanding of the psychology of Kang is second to none. It's really a fascinating setup, and this again kind of ties up the shitstorm of Avengers 200, and it kind of closes that loop. And at the end,
it's beautiful though the way it's written. Like Kang's like, you can't be your own man, you can't be your own ruler, you can't be your own legend. You know, and he's like walking them along and stuff. It is like the Godfather, and then he's like, but if I'm to go on as the conqueror, I can't have a traitor around.
Right.
And then he kills his own son.
And again, at the beginning of the scene, he's like, I don't have to be Kang the Conqueror anymore. I can just go out like a champ. And then Marcus screws it up and writes his own death certificate. Yeah. And kind of throughout that whole scene, Kang's like, oh, you were the best of them. Oh, you were the best of them. And you kind of think he means it just generally. And then you see that mausoleum and you're like, oh, you mean the best of them.
Yeah.
Like those Marcuses. And then at the end, the automated voice comes on saying, like, shall I initiate Marcus 24? And Kang's like, no, not yet. And the fascinating thing, Carl, is no one has picked up that thread, to my knowledge.
Really?
I'm not aware of any other attempts. And, there's a lot of baggage with Marcus, like we talked about, but, this is the conclusion of that. And it's really incredible.
It's cool as an ending to this 16-issue storyline because it's like the villain is not truly defeated at the end of this. Like, he's set up for a return.
Not in terms of plot, but kind of in terms of emotionally.
Yeah.
The defeat wasn't being put in prison. The defeat was being broken out and not being given his king's send-off where, he's going to be executed like an enemy of war. Like, he doesn't get that ending that he wants. He's kind of robbed of that.
Kang has rules and standards. I mean, he sets the rules for play when he conquers Earth, and he has a set of rules he needs his son to abide by, and his son did not abide by those rules, and so Kang...
Those impossible rules.
Yeah, doesn't feel like his son's worthy, and it's, you know what, this moment, the Enough Said issue, and the Carol Danvers part... And Cap fighting him in space, sure. I mean, like, we're all standout moments. I mean, like, I really love this moment.
Yeah.
I thought it was really well written, and it makes the story worth reading.
It's like Shakespearean.
It is.
It was like it really feels like a Shakespearean, like, you could totally see that as like a Hamlet, Richard III, kind of Henry V moment.
It was a great bookend to this whole story arc, this whole journey we go on with all this stuff. It, like, you know, I feel like some people could be critical and be like, oh, it's just a bunch of series of action scenes, but like this gives it the gravitas and the weight.
Yes, it makes it very much about character. And just to put a bow on, I know we're running very long, and I knew this would happen, but let's talk about issue 55 real quick. Patrick Zurcher and Scott Koblish do the art. It opens with the trial scene of Carol Danvers. What you don't know, Carl, that I know, is that this double-page spread of Carol walking in front of the court-martial of the Avengers is a direct lift from issue 7 of Avengers with Kurt Busiek and George Perez, where Warbird was kicked off of the Avengers, basically, or she quits the Avengers because of the live, free, or die crossover, where she basically fell into alcoholism and was basically not an effective Avenger.
Yeah, this does read like a 9/11 memorial.
Oh, that cover 100% is a 9/11, and even that first page. Yeah, in memory of those fallen. That, how many times did we hear that post 9/11?
Right.
So this kind of gives closure and redemption to Carol's fall from grace at the beginning of the Busiek run, and kind of gives her a second chance. She's exonerated for killing the Master of the World. We kind of get some moments with Triathlon.
Yeah, the social relationships of the Avengers are explored. You get like a funny little romance between She-Hulk and Hercules.
In the background, yeah.
Yeah. That cracked me up, actually. Great. Yeah, that was funny.
And we also get the loose end of Triathlon and 3D Man is tied off.
Right.
Even Victor Shade as Vision, this persona that, again, Carl, you don't know because you haven't been reading the whole run. That's been kind of a subplot where he's trying to get back in touch with humanity. That's given a little bit of a bow.
I thought that was cute, though. Like, I didn't have the whole, like, I could read into the subtext of it, and understand that. And Vision's happy he's getting somewhere with this girl, or he's touching some part of himself he hasn't felt in a long time. It's fun.
Derek Freeman shows up, who you may remember from the Under Siege storyline. He was the FBI liaison in Under Siege. His brother Dwayne was a member of the cast for Busiek's run.
I actually love this part, where he pulled out the old school Avengers comic and stuff.
So, for context, Dwayne dies when Washington is blown up, and he was a member of the Triune Understanding, which is this cult that Triathlon was a member of, who plays a part in the climax. And Derek comes in and basically is like, Dwayne loved you guys, and he respected you guys, and even though you guys had some animosity, and he had to like stand up to you a bunch, like he thought you were incredible, and he was a big fan of you, and he even had this old Avengers comic. And they pull Avengers issue 100 out and use the art from that.
Yeah, I thought it was a really very cool meta moment.
Yeah, and it was a nice emotional closure moment for Tony.
I thought it was kind of like, doesn't it... I had to start reading it, and you could tell me if I'm crazy or not, but it's kind of like runs parallel with Busiek leaving the title.
This should have been the last issue.
It's a guy, it's like a guy packing up his Avengers comics, and he's like ready to leave, and I was like reading this, like, oh
but
man.
It meant a lot to me, right?
Yeah, I was like, wow.
I skimmed over issue 56, which was Busiek's actual last issue, and I maintain that issue 55 is the real end.
Oh, for sure.
Issue 56 feels like, well, Jeff Johns isn't ready to go yet, let's just put like a quick one up. This feels like the emotional thematic.
Oh, it has weight.
This is the end.
It has weight.
It's good. It's real. It's a good send off.
I enjoyed it.
They even tie off the little conflict between Firebird and Thor, where like Firebird feels guilty that she drove Thor away, and then he comes back and throws a big feast.
I love that part, and it's written so well.
It's
like
so
Thor
good.
comes in after the victory over Kang. Thor comes in with a big feast from Asgard, and they're all like hanging out, and Jarvis is there. It's like it's the, as the kids say, it's the super happy Scooby-Doo ending. You know, like
Do kids say that? Is that really?
No, probably not.
You're so plugged in, Carl, to the youth.
Definitely, bet. So
No cap.
yeah, no cap, and so Thor, no cap, is at this dinner with like all kinds of feasts and stuff.
Sorry.
And stuff. Yeah, and so the Avengers kind of about this grave, it's got Wasp.
Yeah, so
Iron Man.
Wasp, Iron Man, and Cap are kind of uncomfortable being at the party. They need to go pay their respects. So they go pay their respects, and you zoom in on the picture they left of Dwayne, and they fly away, and then it closes in on the Avengers issue 100, or no, issues 58. I said 100, it's issue 58. That belonged to Dwayne, and then it pans out and you see Washington being rebuilt.
In the background.
Again,
there,
thematically making it a very post 9/11 issue. But
like
also,
we're coming back from this.
Yeah, but also a good punctuation mark for Kurt Busiek's run.
I love, that's what I mean. Like this little caption box where he's like, "You'll all be missed." He's referring to the Avengers.
Yeah, he's referring to the Avengers and the audience. I mean, as readers, we've been following him for 55 issues, plus all the annuals, plus the 0 issue, plus the Avengers Forever maxi series. I mean, I do kind of equate Kurt Busiek as sort of the Claremont of Avengers.
I was drawing parallels during our talk here of that because it felt that way to me. I'm like, here's a guy seeped in the.
Bendis' run was longer. I'm sure other people had longer runs.
They treated Busiek better than Claremont.
Well, yeah, they let him tell his story, didn't they?
That's what I mean. Like Claremont has to deal with like them resurrecting Jean and all this, like his continuity kind of getting thrown out. But anyway, that is for another episode.
All right, Carl. So I know we're running long, but let's talk about how you feel about this run.
Strong. Siege was an epic, certainly.
Sure.
And I liked Siege.
Sure.
I like this probably more. I don't like how dark it is. I think it lands, not only is there a plot here, but there's a story. There's an arc, there's a theme.
Character.
There's things coming across the 9/11 themes you touched on. The Busiek leaving his run. Kang the Conqueror's storyline gets tied up thematically really well. It is a strong serving of issues, and I love that Marvel gave him 16 issues to just run wild with this. Like I think it's great.
I told you last episode that I was nervous about revisiting this because I loved it so much when I was 13. 13 and 35 both give it a thumbs up. I mean, I honestly do think I like it better now with the context of all that extra reading that I've done since then, and just being more literate with comics.
Sure.
I think I like this as much or more than I did as a kid.
Marvel, where's our hardcover collection?
Give me that hardcover.
Yeah.
The Kang Dynasty maybe it exists and I just don't own it.
Busiek Omnibus, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it exists with the Busiek Paris Omnibus. I'm talking like, give me the Kang Dynasty standalone collection. Maybe it exists. Link me at contact at IssuesWithCartoons. Send me the link. I'll buy it. I want that on my shelf. But more than it existing, I want that push. I want it to be like in the list of like top 10 Avenger stories.
Yeah.
I do feel like this belongs there. I feel like this is like an epic. I know this is one of the best Kang stories, unquestionably. As an Avengers epic, I do feel like it benefits, and maybe you should answer this. I shouldn't assume. Standing alone, having not read any other Busiek Avengers stuff before this, based on our conversation, I feel like this stands up without needing any of that.
It's very strong. I mean, like me just coming into it and just reading it, and it's a very strong story. And you know, the art you can make a complaint that the art could be more consistent because it is not consistent throughout. But hey, all the characters are on model here. It doesn't do much wrong. I mean, like the church stuff we talked about with the
triune understanding.
If I were to cut anything out of this,
it
would be that.
Yeah.
But the rest of it delivered, and like I said, I love the Nuff Set issue, and I've read a lot of the Nuff Set issues, and this one was
a really good one,
particularly strong.
Knowing that George Perez started this run, it is a shame that he didn't come back for at least issue 55. Mm-hmm. And you do wonder what the world would have been like if say, Perez or even Alan Davis, who started this storyline, had done the whole thing.
That's what I wish happened.
Or if Kieran Dwyer had done the whole thing, or if Ivan Rice had done the whole thing, or if any one of them had just done the whole thing. Maybe that's what separates it from a Dark Phoenix saga or from other Avengers storylines. Like, even Avengers Forever had Carlos Pacheco through the whole thing. Like, maybe that's what separates it from those classic evergreen collections. But I don't feel like there's a dud in any of these. I feel like the art is strong in all of them.
It's a strong showing of Avengers comics. Yeah, it's out of the crossovers I think we've read, this is my favorite so far.
I'm glad you liked it as much as you did. I'm glad we got to cover it. I'm glad it's getting its time. If
it deserves it. It deserves more recognition than it gets.
It's a shame that the Kang Dynasty film is no more, because I do feel like that was going to be the opportunity for this to get some attention. Mm-hmm. And now I don't think it's going to get quite that. But maybe you, the listener, can now evangelize it as a top Avenger story. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. Carl, anything else to say?
I don't have anything else on this other than I want to read more Kang.
Yeah. Oh, dude, Young Avengers is the next time he shows up.
Okay.
And that's some good Kang also. But yeah, I mean, we should talk about. You should read Avengers Forever. That actually, next steps for anyone who enjoyed this, go back and read Avengers Forever. Go read the Young Avengers, the first year of Young Avengers, with Alan Heinberg and Jim Chung. I mean, really, honestly, any Kang is good Kang. But go back and read all of... I know it seems like a lot, but you just read 16 issues. That's like a fifth of the Busiek run. Go read the Kurt Busiek Avengers run. It's incredible comics. It's a very specific era of comics that I feel like is that in-between space of classic Marvel and new Marvel. It's that weird Venn diagram. And I feel like they're really well-made comics. So,
well, we covered the epic. Kyle, is there anything you want to plug?
Kofi.com/kylewindle. You can read Cornelius Armstrong, Adventures and Antics, or Cornelius Armstrong and the Great Goodheart. You can also get Thunderduck, Mad Science Rejects, and you can commission me. Carl, what do you have?
Mad Science Rejects and Thunderduck are great, by the way. Go check those out. Go check those out. Those are great comics. Illustrated great, and Kyle has a lot of respect from the medium, from his art.
I do respect it.
You can find my stuff at www.carllucasdraws.com. I got a new Shogun Bear book coming. I got more Shogun Bear stuff coming, so be on the lookout for that. I think that's it. Great.
Contact at IssuesWithCartoons.com for any questions, comments, or requests even. And stay tuned for more. Make sure you're following us on all the socials. And like, follow, subscribe, share, comment, get involved.
Yeah.
And more issues to come.
That's it for now.
Stay tuned.